Welcome back, everyone. Pleb Underground. I'm your host, Coin Icarus. That's right, guys. All right, today we are going to dive into the Genius Act. Yeah, that's right. It's kind of interesting, right? Because a lot of times the names that are given to these acts are kind of the opposite of what they really mean. But anyways, yeah. Before we dive into it, you guys, you know the deal. We are going to take a quick trip down to the sponsor area, right? So we can take a look at what Archimedes Emporium is putting out there. And guys, we're going to be back in like 20 seconds, and we're going to dive into the Genius Act. Spoiler alert, it's not so genius. Anyways, head on over to Archimedes Emporium. They make absolutely beautiful Bitcoin branded products. They just dropped their first one. It is the solid aluminum Bitcoin clock. I had to get my hands on it so that I could show it to you guys. Take a look. Really, really nice piece. Beautiful craftsmanship. Head on over to archamp.co. The link is going to be in the show notes. That is Archimedes Emporium. Head on over there. All right, we are back. So let's kick it off with this video.
Today, on a bipartisan basis, the Senate will pass its first major digital asset legislation ever, the Genius Act. With this bill, the United States is one step closer to becoming the global leader in crypto. The Genius Act establishes a pro-growth regulatory framework for payments.
Not Bitcoin. Of course, right? Nobody should be surprised by this, but he ain't saying Bitcoin, right? It's the leader in crypto. And there's another word that he's going to use a whole lot.
Stable coins. This bill will cement U.S. dollar dominance. It will protect customers.
Stablecoin is just another word for CBDC. And what I really appreciate this, right? Whenever any of this stuff gets rolled out, my favorite part is always the rhetoric that is supposed to make you feel like they give a shit about you, right? They give a shit about me, the little peons, right? They care about us. So that's why, they're going to roll this legislation out. They're going to put this framework together, and all of us are going to be happy and safe inside the gate, inside the stable coin gate.
It will drive demand for U.S. treasuries, and it will ensure that digital asset innovation happens in the United States of America, not abroad. With Genius, the value of stablecoin.
So I'm sorry. It's not about the innovation, right? It's about maintaining a moat. There's no question there, right? Like, let's be honest, the US dollar is the most dominant currency in the world. It is still the most widely desired currency in the world. So, I mean, like, why would you want to spoil that, right? You want to keep this party going.
Coins will be pegged to the US dollar and backed 1-to-1 by cash and short-term U.S. treasuries. This will provide certainty and confidence.
So the stable coin is going to be backed by the U.S. dollar and treasuries. The U.S. dollar printed out of nothing, treasuries just created as IOUs in order to produce more dollars. Oh, it's terrible when you see the Rube Goldberg machine we all exist in. I know it's brutal. This would be so much better if I was just telling you how great this is going to be for Bitcoin, right? Well, just think of that, and just think about that. Think of how great this is all going to be for Bitcoin. You won't feel so bad about this.
For more wide-scale adoption of this transformational technology, by combining the dollar's advantages with the speed and the efficiency of blockchain technology.
The speed and efficiency of that slow, decentralized database, right? That's what they want. I mean, who needs an SQL or Progress or MongoDB, right? That processes hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. You want this efficient, slow database from the blockchain. Okay. All right. So I think we've heard enough from whatever his name is. Let's go see what is this guy's name? I don't even. I've got the bill right. Mr. Haggerty. That's who it is. Okay. Anyways, well, we've seen enough from Mr. Haggerty. Let's start going through the main bullet points here of the Genius Act, and let's see here. All right. So as we know, global United States is one step closer to becoming the crypto capital of the world. Nothing about Bitcoin there. No surprise whatsoever. All right. The bill will cement the US dollar dominant, protect its customers. I don't even know what that means. They don't know what that means either. Let's just be honest, right? Nobody knows what that means. Hey, good morning, Roman. Increased demand for US treasuries. Guys, that is the signal right there. This is how you continue the gravy train of demand for the US dollar. No, I'm not bashing it or saying this is bad and this is good. I'm just saying this is what they're doing, right? That's all it is what they're doing. Anyways, ensure that innovation in the digital asset space is in the hands of the United States and America, not our adversaries. I mean, it's the typical us versus them, right? We need to do this first, right? Because there's a clear good guy and there's a clear bad guy, and that line is drawn in the sand, and you can easily figure out who those people are. There's no way that there's good and bad people on all sides. That's just insane and too difficult to think about. What else? The value of the stable coins, as we know, they're going to be pegged to the US dollar. All right, great. By combining the dollar's advantages with the speed of blockchain technology, this is where we were at in the video. The Genius Act facilitates TradFi's adoption of crypto and ushers in a new generation in payment processing. So far, I'm not hearing anything about Bitcoin, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I think anybody that's actually been paying attention to this, anybody who actually read the act, which we're going to take a look at in a minute. But obviously, I'm not going to go through the whole entire thing. That's just boring AF. But we're gonna just have a quick skim through it. You know, what else do we got here? So what's next? Stable coins. Stable coins are the paradigm shifting development that can bring our payment system into the 21st century. So banks have never actually had to make any changes. Okay. Banks have never really had to upgrade any kind of infrastructure. Why? Because there's a monopoly, right? They own all the rails. So really, this type of shit is only happening, and I kind of have to say it's only happening because Bitcoin came about, right? Bitcoin came about, and then all of a sudden, slowly but surely, these institutions need to realize that if they want to continue having their little walled garden and their moats and all of this fun framework legislation crap, well, guess what? You're going to need to speed things up, and you are going to need to start meeting your customers, right? Because that's what we are. I know that people think that we're citizens, we're fucking customers to a company. Yeah, you want to keep your customers, you got to make them happy. All right, moving on here. What is it? The legislation establishes procedures for issuing stablecoins, designates clear roles for federal and state regulators, implements standards for consumer protections, and includes strong safeguards, guys. This is my favorite part, okay? So the banking system, which has facilitated over 90% of the illicit activity that goes around the world, guess what? Because of the stablecoin stuff, there's going to be strong safeguards to deter the illicit activity. Make no mistake, okay? All of this, these frameworks, it's just simply meant to provide a checklist. So if you are going to be a criminal and you are going to go and do shady stuff, well, here's the checklist of items you need to make sure that you have covered so that you can get away with it. Of course, until the regulators conveniently figure out what you were doing and slap you on the wrist, and then make you pay to play. That's right. We're going to show to the general public exactly, just what we do to these criminals. They're going to have to pay millions of dollars printed out of thin air that the banks control. It's really tough for the banks to pay out those millions of dollars in fines. I tell you, my heart bleeds for them, right? Anytime I hear of a bank like Wells Fargo or something like that, that has to pay millions of dollars out for, funneling illicit funds for, whatever organization, my heart bleeds for them because I know they could go out of business. Thank God they don't. /S for the sarcasm for the people who didn't catch it. Now, let's go take a look very quickly, guys. Yeah, exactly, Roman, right? They pay millions of dollars for the billions they get. And that's why when you see these, when you see these banks having to pay, right, the millions of dollars, to Roman's point here, I mean, they make billions. They make billions, and they own the rails for all the transactions. You think a couple of $1 million? You think anybody cares? But it's all about perception, right? The public perception is that, look at that. Someone was held accountable for doing bad things, right? Okay, so why am I bringing up this the bill itself? I don't know. It's a good question. I wonder if you guys will actually be able to see when I do this find and edit on the screen. Are you able to see it? No, you aren't. Okay, well, let's see. Stable coin. Okay. So stable coin appears 252 times in this policy. Okay. In this legislation. Sorry, not policy. Okay. So stable coin 252 times. Just for the sake of it, right? Just for the sake of it. Bitcoin appears 0. Okay. Just for reference. So for anybody, if you're paying attention to anyone that is trying to sell you the mountain of crap that somehow this Genius Act is going to facilitate something for Bitcoin, it has nothing to do with Bitcoin. 252 mentions of stablecoin, 0 mentions of Bitcoin. Just food for thought. Okay, just food for thought. The last piece to it, which kind of for me was the icing on the cake, was, and I hope that this person was trolling, because it does scare me. It does scare me. So this was a retweet here from I don't know who this account is, but this was pretty funny. Now that the Genius Act passed, I bet USDT is going to pump to $5. Sometimes you wonder, how are these people breathing and walking at the same time? It's a stable coin. It's pegged. It's never going to be worth $5 when the dollar is a dollar. It just, maybe you can make the argument for the purchasing power, but I don't know. I'm really hoping that person was trolling, because if they're not, they're most likely going to get very wrecked holding a whole lot of stable coins that peg to the dollar and that never do the imaginary 5x that this person is searching for. Anyways, thanks, Roman. Yeah, I try with the receipts, man. I do. Honestly, I've always found that to be really important. But it's not about, right. It's also, it's not necessarily about, being right. Right. Because essentially we're all learning. Right. I know that some people want to pretend like they know all and, extreme confidence and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, like, we're all just trying to learn. So to your point, Roman, like the receipts, it's because I also want to hold myself accountable. Right. It's like saying, hey, look, I'm telling you guys this is where I got my information from. Right. So it's not just like some hokey made up thing that just, feels good for me saying it. It's like, no, this is where I got it. And, if you decide that you want to go back and check it, so be it. And of course, as you guys know, that's always in the show notes. But yeah, wrapping it up, guys, I don't care about this. I get that a whole bunch of crypto people, right? All the people who want to shill you garbage, they're thrilled about this, but make no mistake, the moat is being set up. Okay. The people who are going to be allowed to issue the stable coins, it's going to be anybody that's approved. What is it again? That has FDIC clearance. If it doesn't have to do with FDIC clearance, then it has to be one of the approved banks. So, is anyone surprised by this? I think the one surprise that I have is Tether. Right? Y'all remember Tether, right? Tether ain't any of those things. But you see, what I've said many times in the past, because I've covered Tether many, many times. They are not a sponsor of this show in any way, so I can say what I want. But Tether has been playing the game better than anybody else, right? Because they started buying treasuries. They figured out and started getting in bed with the government as soon as possible. And I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do, but I'm just saying, in terms of game theory and in terms of a business owner wanting to create a thriving business in, let's say, a landscape that doesn't have too much regulation. Well, how do you keep authorities off your back? How do you keep them on your side? Right? Tether figured it out. They started buying a shitload of treasuries. And who was their independent auditor? Cantor Fitzgerald. I can't make this up. Anyways, guys, yeah, it's going to be really interesting as governments try to play catch up with Tether. I also kind of wonder what kind of shadiness is going to occur with that. Right? Will Tether stay tethered? Who knows? Anyways, guys, Genius Act. Nothing for Bitcoin. Nothing at all. Anybody trying to sell you that for Bitcoin? It's just a nothing burger. That's all it is. Nothing to do with Bitcoin. Everything to do with maintaining the dollar hegemony. That's all there is to it. That is the whole point. Guys, that's all for today. And I'm going to catch you all maybe tomorrow. Peace.